So, you don't know me. Well, that's a lie. Some of you know me, but not really. After graduating from college, I worked for an international NGO that sent me to Tanzania to be a community educator. I am gay, and I lived and I worked in a country that systematically denies the existence of homosexuality. Before going abroad, I had a lot of conversations with colleagues about whether or not I should come out, and they told me that I definitely needed to hide that part of myself while I was there. So I made the decision, and I kept it inside. But working abroad in Africa, bringing myself into the closet was detrimental to not only my personal well-being, but my professional success. I woke up, I was tired all the time, mentally and physically. I woke up in the middle of the night to call my boyfriend. I found myself wondering whether or not I should say something and to who. I suppressed mannerisms and expressions, and I built a wall that hindered my ability to be the best employee I could be and hindered my happiness as a human being. Since then, I've been fairly lucky. Building a career in education and social impact has brought me to individuals and to organizations that have been relatively socially liberal, enlightened, and inclusive. But years after my experience in Tanzania, I encountered another similar experience. I was confronted with an experience that encouraged me to go back into the closet. Early on in this job, I had a conversation with my manager, and it was clear his discomfort with my sexuality. So as a reaction, I made efforts to take advantage of assumptions that were made. I found myself concealing my wedding ring when I walked into meetings so that I wouldn't have any questions. Imagine wondering whether or not you should talk about your weekend plans with your coworkers. Imagine wondering if having a portrait of you and your significant other on your desk at work would cause questions that you wouldn't be able to answer. Imagine hiding a part of yourself actively every single day. This is what I had to do. The other story that I told, slides, that was Tanzania 10 years ago. But this was just last summer in corporate America, Cincinnati, Ohio, today. And Ohio's not alone. Ohio, Florida, Texas, Louisiana, Pennsylvania, and 24 other states across the supposed land of the free are places in which I would feel unsafe to be who I truly am. In 29 states, I can be fired for being gay. I could be fired for marrying a partner of the same sex. I could be fired for raising a family in an LGBT family unit. Actually, any of you here in this audience could be fired for just being perceived as a member of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender community. You could be fired for who you are, and it's legal. So I wish this were not so serendipitous, but as many of us probably know, just a few weeks ago, Indiana passed a law called a religious freedom. I'm noticing my slides there. Religious freedom law, which in effect means that I could walk into a grocery store with my partner, and the cashier could decide not to take our business. Now, the policymakers in Indiana have since decided to, quote, fix this law, but this is still a very, very active conversation that's happening across the country in states from Arkansas to Maine. I don't know about you, but I honestly can't believe that this is my country. So remember, Tanzania 10 years ago, corporate America today. I think this is a giant step backward for our country. So the fight for marriage equality has really, rightfully so, taken the national spotlight on LGBT rights. And it's worked. In 37 states and in Washington, D.C., same-sex marriage, or as I like to call it, marriage, is legal. Actually, 70% of Americans today live in jurisdictions where there is same-sex marriage equality. And perhaps as early as this year, we will have marriage equality nationally. That's huge. But there's also a problem here. The progress we've made in the fight for marriage equality actually misrepresents the progress we've made as a society. There's still so much more to be done. There's a crisis in the workplace in LGBT equality. So the glass ceiling for America's women has clearly not yet shattered, but there are pretty loud voices working, reverberating against it, hoping that soon it will crack. Prominent national efforts from the White House Council on Women and Girls to Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In are leading the charge for income inequality, educating girls and women, and female empowerment in the workplace. But meanwhile, the glass closet is still holding strong. There are few efforts happening right now within the federal government or individual organizations to try to create safer and more supportive environments for LGBT professionals. And the statistics tell a clear story. Before Apple CEO Tim Cook came out last year, there were only 2 CEOs of publicly traded companies who were openly LGBT. And Tim Cook is the only openly LGBT CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Actually, while companies tout their comprehensive discrimination policies, over 50% of LGBT employees in America are still in the closet at work. So in addition to this revealing data about corporate America, it's not much better at business schools. According to national data, 7 to 10% of people our age in America identify as LGBT. But most business schools, including UCLA, have about 3% openly LGBT students. Within our family here at UCLA, I can tell you that there are students, staff, and faculty who are LGBT but are not out. So why? Why are there not more out students, faculty, thinkers, and leaders? The answer, I think, is it's complicated. But my view is that social oppression has prevented LGBT professionals from climbing the corporate ladder and has prevented ladder climbers from coming out. It's public media, it's lack of role models, discriminatory laws and regulations, and the list goes on. But simply, there is a dearth of out LGBT leaders. And I think the solution, for the most part, is pretty simple as well. Authenticity. Today, I'm making a call to action for authenticity. I think all LGBT professionals should come out. Smash the glass closet. Demand equality in the workplace. According to a recent Harvard study, out LGBT employees are twice as likely to believe that they can achieve their professional aspirations at work. And perception is reality. These people are also twice as likely to achieve those aspirations. In other countries, the story is even worse. Persecution, prison, even death. And I understand that coming out is a very personal decision. It can be very professionally risky in the US and abroad. And in that sense, my call to action isn't just a new position that I'm putting forward, but it seems a bit counterintuitive. Why open the door for discrimination? And of course, the last thing I would want would be for someone to come out and for fear for their life. But in America, at least, we need to pave the way for the world. We need to pave the way and be out. All LGBT professionals have an obligation. I have an obligation. No more hiding. The LGBT community today has a chance to lead a revolution that will change the world for our children. In this way, my call to action is also bigger than the fight for LGBT equality. This is about each of us choosing to live authentically. And we can use this conversation about LGBT identity in the workplace as a model for a conversation about many aspects of our identities. LGBT identity is unique because it's often invisible. So I can choose to reveal or not to reveal. We must choose to reveal. But the thing is, we all have invisible identities. Whether it's religion, socioeconomic background, gender expression, disability. These are aspects of our identities that we choose to hide every day. This is what some sociologists call covering. Covering means that we have a known stigmatized part of our identity and we make a decision to minimize and suppress that aspect of our identity. Some of us are veterans, religious, disabled. Whatever this aspect is, we all censor some part of ourselves on a daily basis. So a 2013 report done here at UCLA at the Williams Institute showed a really strong connection between pro-LGBT environments and economic outcomes. The study was able to show that pro-LGBT workplaces led to increased job commitment, job satisfaction, stronger relationships in the workplace, and more productivity. The employees were also healthier. So again, if we extrapolate and use LGBT identity as a model for the identities that we all choose to hide, once we embrace and become authentic leaders, we will be better professionals. So we all must come out. It won't be easy. When I look back on my time in Cincinnati, I really deeply struggle with the fact that I found myself retreating back into the closet. I think of myself as a pretty committed LGBT activist and a pretty self-aware human being, but I still hid. If I were to go back and do it again, I wouldn't have hid. In the 1960s, the gay liberation movement encouraged gays and lesbians to come out as a means of raising political consciousness. You can imagine the adversity that these individuals faced. But the adversity that they faced is the reason that people like me are able to live happy and healthy lives. And today is the next generation of that movement. In Iran, Egypt, India, and other places around the world, young people are choosing to come out, perhaps being imprisoned, and sometimes even being put to death in the name of social change. And in the US, we're still coming out as well. While many corporations have changed their policies, the big level changes haven't yet trickled down to changing individual mindsets. And I think the story of LGBT professionals on Wall Street illustrates this best. The New York Magazine recently did a cover story revealing that while most gay bankers live in New York, the most gay-friendly, arguably one of the most gay-friendly cities in the world, almost none of them are out for fear of social exclusion and professional detriment. When we become authentic in our workplaces, we may be bruised along the way. It's risky. But to make change, to move society forward, we have to risk those bruises. After business school, part of my job will be to coach the world's biggest companies on issues of culture and inclusion. But as a young professional and as a graduate student, I see my leadership today in every aspect of my life as a political action. To lead authentically, to be public about who I am, is far more important than anything that I could do in the boardroom or in the classroom. But even more importantly than that, each of us must decide to lead authentically. Be who you are. Know each other. All of us must come out of the glass closet. So we manage up, we manage down, We now lean in, and now we must lead out. Thank you.